Good morning. Let's see if my people show up. Oh, I see some. Hello, hello. Happy World Card Making Day. It's a beautiful sunny Saturday. We are under construction here, so I'm going to have a big cement truck coming. We're pouring concrete in the backyard, so hopefully it is not going to be too loud. I know many people are probably busy going about their day already, so many may catch this on replay, and that is totally okay too. But I wanted to come on first thing and do my video so that it was available for the day. Melissa's getting ready to watch the SCT. Yes, they have Scrapbook and Cards Today has a whole lineup of things going on their YouTube channel all day long, so definitely check that out. But we're doing a promotional giveaway. You can get this beautiful stamp and stencil combo free with a minimum $100 purchase today. So I thought I would come on and demonstrate the set so you can see what it does. And of course, we're going to make a card because it's World Card Making Day, so we have to make a card. And then we are going to do a giveaway as well. So we'll do that at the end. Good morning, everybody. So I'm going to jump right in. We're going to get started, and hopefully this goes smoothly. So like I said, we are giving away this lovely set with a minimum $100 purchase. So this has a retail value of $45. So like it's great value. You definitely want to get this if you can. So it is a stamp set that you can use on its own. So it does this beautiful plaid stamp. But then there's also a stencil, which you can also use on its own, but it does pair up nicely with the stamp set. So you kind of have a 3-in-1 product. So you can use this on its own, and then you can combine them and use them together. So like 1, 2, and 3 different options. And I love products that give you options. So the background in my card was created with both the stamp and the stencil. So I'm just going to hold that up nice and close so you can see that. I actually heat embossed the stamp with white embossing powder, and then I use the stencil to do the ink blending. But I'm going to show you a couple of different options just so you can see the versatility that you can get with this set. So we're going to start with that. So I'm going to pull out just the stencil right now, and I'm just going to quickly demonstrate, not a whole panel, but just to show you what you can get by just using the stencil. So the stencils are numbered. Of course, mine probably aren't in order. Oh, yes. Nope. They're all over the map. Okay, because I cleaned them. Okay, here we go. So you can't see this on the camera, but it says stencil 1A and B, stencil 2A and B, and stencil 3A and B. So A is when you go this way. B is when you flip it over and go a different direction to get the diagonal going a different way. So we're going to put a panel of paper onto my sticky mat. So this is an A2 size card front. There are etchings on the stencil itself to help you line it up. So, but then also remember that those are a guide, and you should be looking at your previous stenciled layer as well as the etched markings to make sure that you're lining it up right. Because if you're not 100% accurate on one of the layers, then you might have to adjust your stencil just slightly, and that's okay. You just have to keep that in mind. So the etchings are there as a guideline. I'm going to bring in my blending brushes here, and we are going to just blend some ink on here. So I have 3 colors pulled out. Do you guys ever check out Carissa Wiley's videos? She has some really nice color combinations, and I went searching yesterday because I wanted to. I'm always really drawn to her color choices. So this was one of them, and that's what I used here on my card, and I really love how it turned out. So we're going to use this just the same right now, just so we keep things consistent. So I'm just going to blend a little bit of this. Oh, sorry, that was grapefruit onto my panel. And I'm just going to kind of keep to the center here. I'm not going to do the whole thing, but I just want to give you an idea. And you don't always have to do the whole panel to get a really cool look. So I'm just going in both directions, just lightly blending on there. And then I'm going to remove the stencil. And I just flipped the stencil over. So from this side to this side. Okay, and again, I'm going to line up those etchings just to make sure that I have things kind of straight. Okay, and you can see now how those patterns are going to crisscross. And again, just a light blend. Okay, so people are tuning in, saying hello, good morning. Okay, so that is stencil number 1, front and back. So see how you get that beautiful blend? Oh, I'm a little off screen here. Let's go up here a little bit more. There we go. So again, my blending doesn't go all the way to the outside of the panel, and I'm okay with that. Now I'm going to come in with the number 2 stencil, and this is stencil side A. Okay, and I'm also watching how these strips line up with my blending that I already did. It's very, very easy to line up, so you don't have to stress too much about that. Next up, we're going to bring in lemongrass. And I'm going to do a little ink blending with that. Again, I'm going to start in the middle, just a light blend. Okay, and then I'm going to take this and flip it over so you can see how that's starting to fill in your pattern a little bit more. And I'm going to line this up. And another light blend. And you can change the pressure that you use when you stencil to get variation in the color that you're using as well. So isn't that beautiful? I love this. And I love that you don't have to fill in the whole panel. You can just sort of create like a focal point where it's darker and then just let it sort of fade out. And then here we have stencil number 3. And again, I'm just lining up those strips with what I already have stenciled, which makes it very easy. And we're going to come in with our final color, which is Tide Pool. Pardon me. And again, a light blend. And this is just kind of blending over top of some of those other colors that you've already blended. Okay, so there's that blue. And I'm just going to flip that stencil over. And our final okay, so there we go. So this is just the stencil. And it turns out really, really nice. I'm just going to pop this off of here so you can see. And that is just the stencil. And again, you can create whatever color combination you want and make a beautiful plaid. And you don't even have to use all 3 layers of the stencil. You can do 1, you can do 2, you can only do it one direction. So you can do a lot of really fun things with the stencils and how you create the background. So that's just the stencil. Okay, and then I did pre-stamp several panels here just because I mean, stamping is a little bit boring. You don't need to watch me do that. So basically, I just took my stamp, I put it in my MISTI, and I stamped it on an A2 size panel. So the stamp itself is an A2 size stamp. So it gives you coverage from edge to edge, or pretty much edge to edge. And what I did with this one is I actually stamped it in Versamark, and then I heat embossed it with silver. Okay, so this plaid would be beautiful for Christmas. So if you then went in with the stencil and did some red and green, and maybe even a little bit of that teal that is so popular this year. But you can heat emboss the stamp too to give you a foiled or shimmery kind of look, which is really nice. And then I also did one in gold. Okay, so you can see how cool that looks. Okay, so that's what the stamp looks like. And then here's one just in plain black ink. And then, of course, you can just take these panels and you can, without the stencil, just ink blend on them. Or you can ink blend a panel first and then stamp over it. So you have lots of options for things like that. But I'm going to demonstrate how to heat emboss it with the white. Now I see a question. What sticky sheet are you using to hold the stencil? This is, where did I put it? Right here. This is the 7.5 by 7.5 Altenew Ultra Sticky Mat. So that is what I'm using to hold my panels in place. You have lots of options for sticky mats. Waffle Flower makes a great one. The ones that we have on our website, they show like they're black, but that's actually the cover sheet that peels off. That is black, but it is kind of nice to work on the black because your paper shows up really well on the black. So that is really cool. And then also you can get something as simple as this type of a sticky mat, which is inside my Misty right now. These are made by My Sweet Petunia, the makers of the Misty, and this is a sticky mat as well. So any sticky surface will work well, but I do love the photopolymer style of mats because when I'm done crafting today, I will take this to my laundry room sink and spray a little bit of the Dawn dish soap on it and give it a little scrub with a nail brush and then let it air dry, and the stickiness comes right back. It's really cool. And they do have a bigger one than this one as well, which is nice too. I think it's, I don't remember the size exactly, but it's a bit bigger surface. So I use it a lot, like a lot. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate how to do the heat embossing with white and why working with the white is so fun. So let me just clean off my desk here with my ink, because if I don't, I end up getting it places that I don't want it, and that's never good. Okay, and I'm trying to be sort of neat while I craft because if you've watched me in the past, you know that I lose things throughout the live, and I'm like, ah. Okay, so I'm going to pull into the screen my Misty. I'm just going to get my blending brushes out of the way there. And we are just going to place a panel. Okay, so a regular A2 size panel. So I do have a sticky mat in here. I'm going to remove my spacer because this stamp is thicker already, so we don't need that. I can place this panel anywhere on this sticky mat, and I'll be able to stamp multiple panels if I line it up the same way. The thing with a background stamp is you don't really want to tuck it in the bottom corner because you can't necessarily get an edge-to-edge stamp if it's tucked in the bottom corner. So by using a sticky mat and putting it in the center, the sticky mat will hold your paper in place, and then you can just line up your stamp like so, just covering your panel, close the lid, pick it up, and now you're ready to go. So all I have to do is just keep replacing this panel in exactly the same spot on my sticky mat, and then I will be able to stamp multiple panels, which we are going to do. I'm going to, while I have it in here, I'm going to stamp 2 panels and do the white heat embossing. Okay, so I'm just trying to find my additional panels. When you're doing heat embossing, you want to be ready. So, okay. So what I'm going to do is take my Versa Mark ink. Okay. And I'm going to ink up my stamp. So you want to make sure you get good coverage on your stamp. Now with the Misty, you can re-stamp. Before I get too carried away, I'm going to use my powder tool, because we are going to be heat embossing. So this will just help resist the embossing powder from sticking in places you don't want it to stick. Okay, and then I'm going to close this up, and I'm just going to lightly press on the stamp all over. Now I find some kind of a smushing tool is very helpful. This one is an old one. We can't get this one anymore, but we do have options. And it just helps you get really nice, even pressure all over your Misty lid. And then you lift that up, and then this panel is ready for the embossing powder. So I'm just going to slide this out of the way. And I'm going to remove my sticky panel. And if you bend your sticky mat, that will allow the paper to come off without you having to sort of peel it off. And then it doesn't get all curvy. So because this is an edge-to-edge stamp, you want to be careful how you pick it up. Okay, I've got a piece of paper here to help me catch my embossing powder once I sprinkle it on the panel. So I've got white embossing powder. I'm just going to pick up my panel. Woo! And I'm just going to sprinkle that powder right onto my stamp and just tap off and then turn it around. And I'll show you the completed panel once I'm done here. Okay, so now that panel has been covered in white embossing powder. So I'm just going to set that aside over here. Once that embossing powder is on there, you don't have to rush too much. I'm going to go ahead and stamp a second panel just because I want to show you two different things with it. So we're just going to bring this back on screen, and I'm just going to pop another piece of white cardstock in exactly the same spot on my sticky mat. And it's easy to line it up because there's a grid on the sticky mat too. I'm going to go in there with my powder tool, like so. And then I'm going to ink up my stamp again. Hello, everyone. I see people are tuning in as we're going along here. And like I said, if you're tuning in and watching it on replay, that's totally okay as well. This will live on our YouTube channel, so you can go back and refer to it over and over again. And then again, light pressure, just nice, even coverage there, just to make sure you get all of the stamp onto your panel. Okay, and now we're going to pop this open and remove our panel carefully. Now I'm going to use a die to actually cut out this panel when I'm done for my final card. So if the edges get smooshed a little bit, it's not the end of the world. Now I'm going to bring over that piece of paper that has the embossing powder on it, and I'm just going to sprinkle one more time. So I don't know about you guys, but when I get out my embossing powder, I like to emboss several things because it is a little bit messy. You know, you have to pull out things and powder goes places, and you get to get your heat tool out. So, you know, if you are using this stamp and you want to do some heat embossing, maybe do a few panels. You can do them in different colors, or even get out some sentiments and make it worthwhile. So there is the second panel. All that embossing powder has stuck to the Versamark. Okay, so now I'm going to put this back in here. So we don't want to waste any of that. And cover that back up so I don't end up with it all over the floor. Okay, and then my secret weapon, most of the time, unless I make a big mess, is a Swiffer cloth. And that I just kind of run over the area that I just used the embossing powder, and that will pick up all the little particles. I also have a little vacuum that I like to use too, with glitter and embossing powder. Usually I use this if I make a bit more of a mess. This is it, the little We Are Member Keepers. You just push it on. And this is a USB chargeable thing. And you can just run it over your surface. Oh, see, I hear it picking up stuff. And it works really well. So it just kind of cleans up all the little bits. So either of those options are really great for cleaning up embossing powder afterwards. Okay. So that is that mess done. So what we're going to do now is we are going to bring in our heat tool, and we're going to heat emboss these. So here's one panel, and here's my heat tool. Now, I'm not sure what the sound is going to do when I turn this on. You might just hear the heat tool roaring. So I'm not going to say much while I do it. And I don't know how much of it you will actually see, but I'll try to hold it up so you can watch the process. Basically, the heat tool is going to melt that embossing powder and turn it into a nice shiny finish. Now, sometimes when you're doing a full panel like this, and even small things, it gets quite hard to hold. It's hot. So I have this mini clipboard that I use, and I will just fasten this panel in there once I get the top part done. So for now, I'm going to hold it in my hand, and here we go. So I'm letting the gun warm up just a little bit before I put it onto my panel. Okay, and here we go. We're going to start at the bottom. And you can see the process happen when it happens. It's actually pretty cool. This never gets old. Okay, so I think that part's done. So now I can put this. Now I can put this inside my clipboard. And I do see that I smushed the one area at the bottom here, but that's okay. Like I said, I'm going to be cutting that off. So I really don't think the camera is picking up white on white, but you can see it melting. And you just sort of move your heat tool along. Don't stay in one area too long. You don't want to burn it. Okay. So that's panel number 1 done. Turned out really good. I think I actually missed a little spot at the top here. Okay, so that's panel number 1. I'm just going to hold it up nice and close, just so you can see that texture that's been created. It's a little bit shiny, but so with white embossing powder, what's going to happen is it's going to resist the ink. So when we do our blending on there, it's going to actually resist it. So let's just pull in this other panel really fast. I know it's kind of boring to watch, but I want to get the second one done here. I just knocked over my glue press. That's okay, we'll fix that in a second. So I'm just going to do this top part here, just so I can flip it into my clipboard, and then I don't have to hold the panel stuff. There we go. You can use a pair of tweezers or something to hang onto it as well, but I find the clipboard works really nice. And it doesn't have to be a mini one either. You can grab like a big clipboard. There's also little tongs from Tim Holtz and Laser. They have little hands on them. We did a promotion a while back. Tailored has little mini mitts that you can use. They're silicone. So there's a few different tools out there to help with this. Okay. All right, that part's over now. So we've got 2 panels that are embossed. Okay, so I'm just going to hold that up again just so you can kind of see that that's all embossed. And it is white on white, and it's kind of nice because now you have a blank canvas that you can work with. So before I bring in the stencils and show you how that works, I'm actually just going to do just a little bit of straight ink blending right on the panel, just to show you that you don't have to use the stencil. You can just use your stamped or embossed panel with the stamp and do fun things with it too. You can even just use it like this. You don't have to add any color at all. Now, I do really like this teal, so I'm going to pull in the teal just for fun. And we're just going to blend, again, starting from the center and just moving out. I love creating like a little focal point on my card. I also like it when the ink blending doesn't go all the way to the edge sometimes. I have no idea what I'm even going to do with this panel, but again, having that ink blending in the center, it really just, draws your eye right to it. And, so whatever I do, whether it's just even a large greeting or if I color up a critter or whatever you want to do. I got a little ink heavy there. All right, so then I'm going to take a microfiber cloth and you're just going to rub your panel. And all that does is remove the ink that is sitting on top of that white embossing powder. And you can see, and ignore my boo-boo at the top there, but you can see how the ink resists the white and that plaid then becomes a little bit more noticeable. Isn't that awesome? And then the ink just sort of settles into the paper just like it always would. And so on. So there. So yeah, I could cut out a really cute snowman and make a little scene right on top of this ink blended area, but it still adds some texture to the background. So, oh, somebody else suggested a snowman. It would be really cool. So again, you can make this work for Christmas too. You can, ink blend that in red or green or a combination of both. It would be really cool. And then even the panels that I showed you before, like here's one just stamped in black ink. Let's do the same sort of thing. Well, let's just for fun, let's grab a red ink pad like these two here. So here's a red and a green combination. This is from Tailored. It's the cherry pop and the jalapeno. So let's go in with some red. What did I do with my blending brushes? Here's my red one. Okay. So now red is a dark color. So you really want to make sure that you kind of brush off first so that you're not going in too harsh. I don't know if I'm going to do an ink blend with red and green, but this just looks so pretty. So the black really gives it more definition. And again, even something like this, maybe I should have done green, but to do something like this and then have a beautiful like poinsettia cluster in the center. So that plaid background is going to be there. That ink blending is going to show through the back. You could create like a nice little swag as well with a sentiment through the middle. So again, some really easy options for creating a card base from scratch using just the stamp. So we've done something stenciled, we've done something stamped, we even added some heat embossing, which was fun too. But now I'm going to show you the combination of both. Okay, so we'll just remove that panel. We're going to bring in the other white heat embossed panel. Just going to clean this off here so I don't get the wrong colors in places I don't want them. Okay, so here is our sticky mat. We're going to put that panel down. It's already been heat embossed. Okay. And now we're going to come in with that stencil combination that we did before. So stencil 1. And again, it's heat embossed now, so I can kind of see where those lines are and where to line up my stencil. So again, although the guidelines are there, also look at your pattern that's already on your card panel so that you get it lined up properly. Okay. So the sticky mat's going to hold my paper in place and my stencil in place. And we're going to start with our first color again, which was grapefruit. Okay. And we're just going to do, this time I'm going to go all the way to the outside of the panel. We're just going to do all of the open areas in this grapefruit ink. Kind of matches my sweatshirt. That was not planned. I know some of these top influencers, their nail polish matches their card creations. I am not that organized. I was impressed I had breakfast in the shower before I did my live today. Never mind matching my nail polish. And that is the truth, my friends. Okay, so now we're going to just take this. And now, so it would be really cool to only do the stencils in the one direction and all your stripes are going only one direction. So you have that option. You can always play with how you want to use the stencils. So Sue Moody wants to know, what brand of sticky mat is that? This is the Ulta New one. This is the 7.5 by 7.5 one. There is a larger one as well. I don't know if we're out of stock on that one. I know we have boxes from Ulta New that just haven't been unpacked yet, and I'm pretty sure that whatever one I was out of, I ordered more. So yeah, it's a great little size for sure. But any of the sticky mats are great. Gina K also has grip mats as well, but on hers, the reverse side is actually a patterned stamp. So you can get double duty out of it. So it can be a background stamp, but then if you flip it over to the smooth side, you can use it as a grip mat. They're all very good quality and they work really well. So you can't go wrong with any of them. So that's stencil number 1. I'm going to flip it over. And since we're using this color already, I'm just going to stamp it in the other direction. And again, when I'm done this layer, you'll see that even if you want to stop at one color and one stencil, it is quite effective. Sorry, my stencil shifted. Yes, it's very effective. So you can see even just by looking at this, what's going to happen. So if you don't want a full stenciled panel, you don't have to. And this one, this direction, I'm going just a wee bit lighter than I did in the other direction. Because I want, although we're using the same color of ink, I want there to be some contrast there. And you can see that I'm getting that effect. Just by blending a little lighter. Okay, and I'm going to pull that off. So there you can see just one color. And you just turned the stencil in 2 directions. So that looks pretty cool. Now I'm going to bring in the blue next. I might not add that lemongrass. I might leave it out. I don't know. We're going to see. I'm going to start with the blue. So I'm going to skip a stencil. Now I'm going to come in with the 3rd stencil because I want to see what this looks like. Because I'm really all about the teal right now. Okay, so there we go. And we'll switch out our ink pad. And we're going to try the blue. So this layer, I'm going to stencil a little bit heavier. Oops, that was a bit heavy. I didn't dab off. Sometimes you get a little stencil happy. Okay, so here we go. And we're going to lift that off. Like, doesn't that look beautiful? Now, what I'm going to do is just buff this a bit. Not that cloth. Let's try this one. Just to have that white embossing powder come through. So see how beautiful that is? And you're also getting kind of an additional color. So where the blue overlaps the grapefruit, you get a little bit of a different shade. So that looks really sweet as well. Okay, and now I'm going to take this. You better just wipe it a bit because there's ink on this stencil. So when you flip it over, you don't want it to smush in areas that you don't want it. So flip it over. Okay, and now we're going to get the plaid going the other way. Okay. So it's very easy to use and you really get a lot of different looks. Now I'm going lighter with my teal because again, I want that contrast from the teal in the one direction. And I just want a bit lighter with the teal going in this direction. Okay. And pull that off. And again, I'm going to buff it just so we can see the white. But isn't that a beautiful color combination? And I could stop right there. So if you want some white showing in your plaid, then you can stop here. Now, if I add this next stencil, it's going to fill in the whole panel like I've done it here. So see, there's no white other than the heat embossing showing on my panel, whereas this one has the white showing through. Now, which one do you guys like better? Should I go ahead and add the yellow? Or should I stop here? I'm just going to wait and see what you guys think because we can switch it up. So Helen wants to know how I like this style of blending brush as compared to the original style. Okay, Heather, Helen, I'll answer your question in just a minute. I'm just going to wait here for comments and then I'll address that. Okay, so yes, what? Yes, add, stop here. Okay, we're going to add the yellow. Okay, perfect. Okay, so while I do the blending on the yellow, Helen's question is, Do I like the blending brushes I'm using now more than the original style? Now, the original style, I'm assuming, is one like this. Okay, so the answer to that question is I love this style of blending brush, but it does not replace a blending brush like this. In my opinion, there to have one set of blending brushes would be really hard for me because each type of blending brush does a different task. It depends if you want to do more detailed blending, etc. These brushes here are designed to stencil larger open areas. So in other words, when you're doing a background like this, where you just want to blend like a big area, you will not find a brush that does a better job than this. It actually makes you look like a genius. And I'm all about that. But I sometimes pull them in if I'm doing these larger open areas of this card, and this does give me good coverage, but it's not so much the coverage I'm looking at, it's the type of blend I'm looking at. I want something smooth and even, and that's what this brush does. I could definitely go and use a different brush style and get a little bit more of an intense color. But I really, I love that about these brushes. So I don't know if that really answers your question. Do I love these brushes? 100%. Will they replace a brush like this or the Altenew brushes that I use? Absolutely not. I'm going to go in lightly with the yellow to fill in all of those white areas. But I'm trying not to cover up my other blend too much. And I might have made a mistake by leaving the yellow till the end, because in my last blend, oh, not so much. In my last blend, I did not leave it till the end. I did it as my middle stencil because now the yellow is going over top of everything, but it's working out okay. Again, I'm just going lightly to fill in those areas. There's only a couple spots that didn't get covered. So it is a lighter yellow blend than my last one, but nice. And I'm going to take that cloth, and again, I'm going to buff off any ink that's attached itself to that white panel or the white embossing that we did. Oh yeah. So Helen, to me, the type of brush you use when you're blending can make all the difference. Now, again, I realize that I have the benefit of being able to try a lot of different brushes and add a lot of things to my stash because, first of all, I own the store, and second of all, I do a lot of videos, so I have to share a lot of things. So I understand that, and it's not in everybody's budget to own all of these different brushes. But definitely consider that when you're doing different things, because this style of blending brush versus this style versus my favorite Altenew ones, they all give you different looks and different effects when you're doing it. So, okay, so here's my panel. And here is the panel that I blended earlier. So very, very, very similar. Maybe no, I think it looks pretty close. Maybe my yellow's a little heavier, but it looks amazing. So really it doesn't matter what order you do those stencils in either. So the next step for me to complete this card is to go ahead and now die cut it out into whatever shape I want it to be on my panel. So you can just trim this down if you want to have a white edge, but I really like this decorative edge. And I got that from Master Layouts 4 from Gina K. She has this, if you've never looked at their Master Layouts die sets, these things are amazing. They're dies I go to a lot because they're just all like basics. And this scallop that's in the back here is the one that I used right here on my card. So it gives you that beautiful scalloped edge with the stitching. And it's smaller than the card front itself, which naturally allows you to have that border around the outside. Very rarely do I go edge to edge with my front panel, and not do anything with it. I kind of like to create layers, so this is an easy way to do it. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly off screen run this panel through my die cutting machine, and we will end up with a nice scalloped piece. So I'm actually going to do this one too off screen just because I want to show you what it can look like. Okay. I can't bring my die cutting machine on screen because I have a special handle on it that gives me more leverage. It's from Spellbinders. And when you crank it, it needs to go below the table surface. And I wouldn't be able to crank it all the way around. So, because my die cut machine is on the edge of my table. So I can't move it over. I'd have to remove the handle in order to do that, which is not something that I'm going to do for the video. So I can't show it to you, but okay. So there's that panel all die cut up. And then I'm just going to quickly run this other one through that we did the ink blending on, just to show you what that finished look can be. Real quick. I'm a little disappointed that I blobbed some ink up in the top right corner, but you know what? If I do create some kind of winter scene or Christmas scene, I can definitely put some kind of die cut element up there, whether it be snowflakes or flowers or something. But there is that other panel. See, I kind of went up a little bit too far, but I may be able to put something there to kind of cover that up. But anyways, that's what that looks like. But that's that beautiful scalloped piece that comes in the Master Layouts 4. And that's only one of the dies. There's tons of other ones in this one. So it's quite a cool one. So this stitched piece, these layer together, the hearts layer together, get some buttons, a few sentiment strips. You can make a window in your scallop piece if you want to, but there's also a little postage piece in here too. So tons of great stuff in that. Okay, so we've got our panel, and now we just kind of have to start assembling the card. But I'm not done. So we did the product spotlight on the set we're giving away. And just to remind you, that is the stencil, which is now all dirty, and stamp, which is in my Misty. Okay, so you get those free with a $100 purchase today. It's for World Card Making Day. So scoot on over there and get that before it sells out, because it's a great thing to have in your stash. Julie says, Altenew, you mean the black round ones with the stubby handle? So I love all of the Altenew brushes, like all of them. They're amazing. I don't know what it is about them, but they are amazing. So here's another product spotlight. So here are what I would call regular blending brushes, which would replace this one for me. That's the size that I would use. These are the short little stubby ones. Then there's this size, which is also a favorite. Again, a little more intensified as far as when you're blending. Smaller areas, you can lay down more color. It's a little more targeted. And then they also have brushes with longer handles that are even smaller on the top. And I have those in here. A couple different ones. So there's two different sizes with flat heads. So again, the smaller the brush, the more targeted your ink blending is. The more specific you can be. You can also blend very lightly with these as well. I'm thinking of the Lawn Fawn stencils that go with their critter sets. They're very small openings. So you can take a large brush like this to do your base blend. Large brush like this to do your base blend, and then go in with this and do your shading. So really good. And then they also have a couple of brushes with longer handles that have angled tips. So there's lots of options with brushes for sure. Altenew are my favorite for my regular blending, but then those Pink Fresh brushes for the big open areas in a softer blend are definitely. What is the name of the stamp and stencil? It is called the Dainty Plaid. And you will go to our website right at the very top. You'll see the World Card Making icon. You click on that and all the information is in there. Christina's using her Altenew brushes right now. Yes, I've convinced a lot of people that they are golden. And I mean, they'll buy one set and no word of a lie, they're coming back to buy more, because I'm not kidding you. They are amazing. Okay, so we're going to start building our card. So I wanted a focal point with this set here. So what I did was I created a circle element. Now I just went into my stash. I'm sure we don't have this anymore. I'm sure we can get it. This is the diagonal stitched circle. So this is a 4-piece set, and it's kind of a cool one because you can use it to layer like I am here. So I cut out the one circle that just has the etching on it. Okay, I can use that on its own, but then I can cut out the solid that layers on top. And does it do anything functionally? No, but it gives you that extra layer. It just adds more dimension and texture to your design. So that's what I'm going to layer on there. So you get two sizes in this. There's a larger size. So there's the one with the stitching, and there's the plain one. And then the size I used was this one. And there's the layering piece on top. So 4 dies in that set. And again, it's called the diagonal stitched circles. So I'm pretty sure we don't have it in stock anymore, but it's certainly something we can order. So if it is something you're interested in, definitely shoot us an email and we will bring more of those in. So I'm going to go ahead and stick this together. And look, I remembered to put the lid on my glue press last night. So hopefully I'm not going to have any issues with it needing to be probed here, but you never know. Sometimes I leave it off for weeks. It's bad because, you know, sometimes it takes me that long to get back to crafting. Okay, so we're just going to add some adhesive on there and just adhere these two pieces together. So these basic sets are just so amazing. Just like Master Layouts 4, you know, you need just a basic die to start your layering process. And I definitely go to these sets a lot. And having a variety is nice too, because you get bored using the same things all the time. So it's nice to be able to have different options. So that is the circle piece. So next up are the florals. So these florals are from an older waffle flower set. And I believe we still have it in stock. Whoops. I just dropped my circles on the ground. This one is called Butterfly Blossom. So in this set, you get 3 different size butterflies. And I love that they've connected these all together. So you can just run this whole thing through your die cut machine and you get all 3. Now, all that detail that's showing on the die there, that all gets impressed into your paper. So really, really pretty. And then they have the bodies separately in all 3 sizes. So you just run that die through and you get all 3 of the bodies that you can put in the middle. Now, I didn't use the butterflies on my card. And then you get 2 different styles of flower. Again, there's a small and a large, and you just run it through and you get both sizes cut out. So this is the one that I used to create my flowers. And so what I did was I cut the larger one out of cardstock and then the smaller one out of white. And then I did a little ink blending over top just to give me a different shade, but in the same color family. So that worked out really well. And then they also give you the centers for both styles of flowers in a large and a small. So I used oops, that's the wrong one. I used this one. I used the small for the centers of all of my flowers. So I have those already cut out here and you can see what they look like. Now, again, you can have a real contrast with your flower, and I'm going to hold it up on here to show you. So here is the one that I did with a little bit of ink blending to kind of add a bit of a teal hue to it, or you can leave it completely white. Which one do you guys prefer? I love the idea that you have the option to do both. I could have layered a different color cardstock on top, but I thought it was kind of cool to just take this, and I didn't even add any more ink to my brush. I'm not going to go back to my ink pad. You just use whatever ink is left on here, and you just brush it over top like this, just to add just a hint of color. And then you can go ahead and stick that center in there. Just a little bit of glue, pop the center in. And then, where are my tweezers? You just quickly glue this together. So you can create lots of different layers with these. And I mean, I don't even look to see if this is lined up with all the bumps in the right direction. It doesn't matter. You just go ahead and stick it together. And then the same thing with the grapefruit color. So this is grapefruit cardstock from Concord and Ninth. And then I'm going to use that blending brush with that grapefruit ink on it to give it just a little hue. And again, if you have white cardstock and you don't have the right color, but you've got ink, you can color your die cuts any color you want. And I've done that tons of times. Put the center in there. And again, I'm not super particular with, you know, whether the center lines up with all the etching on the inside of the floral. You just sort of plunk them together. That's what kind of gives it that really great look. So the glass board that I'm working on is magnetic, and these are magnets. So what I'm doing is just putting the pressure on those die cuts so that they can dry. And then I did have one last flower on my card that is small and colored. And I did cut this one out of the cardstock. So this is grapefruit cardstock. And then I'm just going to add the yellow center. So again, it gives it a little bit of a different color than just ink blending. So it just kind of gives lots of variety with the die cuts, but it all matches the background that you just did. So if you're not a person who buys inks that match your cardstock, it is kind of fun to do that. Oh, Susan just said the same thing. Yeah, it's kind of fun to be able to do that. I mean, I don't always do it. Sometimes I just go over and pick out a color that I like and work with it. But you know, sometimes it's nice to kind of say, oh, you know what? I'm using Concord and Ninth cardstock. I wonder if I've got that ink color, or vice versa. And then it's all good. So now my flowers are ready to go ahead and adhere to the card when we're ready to get to that point. So I'll just put those kind of on here for now. Okay, so the next segment is our sentiment. So this is another product spotlight. We've had this in our library for a little while, and everybody is loving Christina Werner's products that she creates with Concord and Ninth. So this is one of her sentiment sets. It's called Encouraging Words. And in this set, you get 4 very large, bold greetings. The great thing about greetings like this is that you don't have to do a whole lot more to your card, and you're done. So you can do a beautifully stenciled background, and you can just put the sentiment right on there and a few gems, and off in the mail it goes. So it really, they're very impactful. But it also allows you to add other things like we did in this particular situation. So along with the 4 large ones, you get several smaller stamped greetings, which are like one-line ones. And here's an example of what that looks like when you stamp and cut it out. So I chose to use the Sending Hugs, and you can see right here that they're just nice. You can kind of just insert them into your card in different places, and they kind of complement the larger greeting. So it says, hope today is a good day and you're sending some hugs. So maybe somebody's struggling with something, or maybe you just want to send them a really nice message. It's really nice to use. And the die isn't just a straight die. It kind of follows the little bumps and curves of the word that when you stamp it out. But then on top of that, you get dies. So the dies will cut out all of the larger words. So those large ones, and then you get dies for all of the smaller words that we talked about. But then what she's done is she's inserted these other dies in here, and they are just sort of standalone dies that you can use by themselves. But they also have a shadow die. Okay, so there's the shadow die, and then you get this really cute Thinking of You die that you can use as well. And somebody's already used this one. I think Amanda made samples with this, but yeah, so then I'll just cut that one out really fast just so you can see what that looks like. And I have a piece of cardstock right here. And we'll just run it through because, again, it's just so packed with stuff and options that you don't get tired of it because there's so many ways to use it. And I love sets like that. And sometimes you'll use like the big bold greeting part, but then sometimes you'll just use you know, one of the little one-line sentiments. And then the next time you might just use just the Thinking of You or whatever those other sets say. But they just look so cool. And they're small, so you can insert them and it doesn't really take over your card. So that's what that looks like when you cut it out. Isn't that fun? So even this combined with this is really cool. So lots of ways to mix and match those. And I decided to use this one here, Hope Today is a Good Day. And I wanted to overlap it on top of the circle and then put my flowers kind of around it. So rather than stamping it on white cardstock and cutting it out, I stamped it on vellum. So if you've never done that before, It's really cool. And not only am I going to stamp it, I'm going to heat emboss it. So what I'm doing is kind of clearing away all this stuff because I'm going to be getting out my heat tool again. So let's just get rid of all of these little bits of things. Okay, and we're going to bring the MISTI back over. I'm going to remove my stamp from earlier. Now I do have to put my spacer mat back in because this is a clear stamp and we need to fill in part of that well. Okay, so I'm going to use this one here. So we're going to pull that out. And we're going to put in a piece of vellum. So I'm using the Lawn Fawn vellum, but lots of different vellums out on the marketplace. You do want something that is a pretty decent weight. So this is 36 pounds. I don't know, what the average is for vellum, but some of them are very thin, and you want to make sure that it's not too thin, because when you add the heat to your vellum, it can warp it sometimes. So you want to be careful that you're not choosing something too lightweight. But this Lawn Fawn vellum works really well. I'm just going to stick a magnet, in here. And I'm just making sure that my sticky panel is pushed right down into the corner so that if it does shift while I'm stamping, I can easily just pop it back into place. Okay, so we're going to pick up that stamp and we're going to stamp it with black VersaFine Clair ink. So this is a pigment ink, which means it's going to dry slowly. And that's what you want when you are heat embossing, an ink that's going to dry slow. So we're not going to use Versamark because I'm going to use black embossing powder. This is a trick I use with white too. I didn't on my white panel, but because I was white on white. But if you stamp white pigment ink and then put white embossing powder on it, it gives you a really nice white, because the white ink will fill in the little spots that don't fill in with the embossing powder. So it's a really cool trick. And I'm going to do the same thing with black. So I'm going to stamp with black ink and then put black embossing powder on it. Susan said, is there a special vellum? There are some vellums out there that are supposed to be for heat embossing. I've had good luck with a lot of vellums, so I don't think you need a specific one. I think the idea behind it is that they're a bit heavier. So as long as you have a vellum that has some weight to it, then you're good. And like I said, I'm using the Lawn Fawn one. I know Spellbinders has vellum out too, and it's also good. So I'm going to use my pressure tool. Again, I'm not going to push too hard because I don't want to smoosh my stamp. Just a little bit of pressure. And then I'm going to take this out and I'm going to sprinkle my embossing powder on it. Okay, so I have a little bit of time because this is a slow drying ink, but you don't want to take too much time. Bring this over and get my black embossing powder and my vellum. I'm just going to sprinkle that on there. Oops, I forgot to use my powder tool, so hopefully we're okay. Perfect. I should have used my powder tool. But what I'm going to do is not spill my embossing powder. I have a very tiny paintbrush. And there's just some embossing powder that's sticking over here. So you can go in and just sort of flick it off. I'm not going to get everything. I'm not going to ruin my piece of vellum, but that's going to be good enough. So now we're ready to actually heat emboss. Okay, so I'm going to bring over my heat tool again. Now this one I can pop into my clipboard right away because this doesn't go edge to edge. So that's going to hold that. And here we go. Now, because I'm working with vellum, I really want to be careful how long I leave the heat on here. So I'm going to try to do it as quickly as possible, but you have to make sure it all melts. So I'm going to warm up my heat tool first, and then I'll start applying. So I'll hold this up. You might be able to see more with the black, with it changing. So it's already starting. So as quickly as possible, I'm just kind of scooting it around, making sure that all that embossing powder melts. Okay. So now we have, and this is why you want to use a powder tool. So I'm going to show you. I don't know if you'll see. Do you see the little black specks on there? So that is embossing powder that did not, it's because of the static, it sticks to the vellum. So if I had put my powder tool first and then done this, likely it would have just reflected off. And you know what? I might just do it again. Because I don't like that it did that. Okay, where's my piece of vellum? Here it is. I'm just going to cut another piece. And we're just going to do that one more time. It only takes a second. So just make sure I place this so that it actually hits that. Now, it's sitting right here. Do that powder tool thing. Okay. See, these are the lessons you learn. And if I wasn't doing it live and talking, I might have remembered, but I forgot. Okay, so again, we're just going to give that a quick bit of pressure. And this is why I say when you have your heat embossing stuff out, do a few of them. Tuck them away in your stash, and they'll be ready for you the next time you need them. And I know some people say, well, I don't know what color I want to do it. Well, chances are if you've got one done, you're going to choose that color. I know I'm guilty for that. It's like, you know what? I kind of thought of doing this, but then it's like, oops, no, I'm going to do black because I've already got one done. Oops. I'm jumping the gun here. I want to make sure I get the embossing powder on there. Bring this over. And Shelby says, good to remember the powder tool. It does make a big difference, 100%. Look at that. It's perfect. So no little bits sticking to everywhere. Yep. So it makes a big difference. A powder tool is kind of a must when you're doing heat embossing. So again, black ink. Make sure it's pigment. If it's not pigment ink, the embossing powder won't stick to it. And then black powder. So it just sort of fills it in. You guys see that changing? It's so magical. Okay. So much better. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the die and I'm going to cut that out. So I'm just going to grab the die. So here it is. Figure out which way it goes. There we go. And just got some low tack tape here. This is the best ever craft tape from Spellbinders. And it is the 1/8 roll. So it's tiny little strips, which is nice. Okay, so I'm going to quickly cut that out. And then rather than having a big white block of paper behind my stamped sentiment, which does look nice sometimes, but in this particular case, I've created this focal point. I want my sentiment to sort of float on top of it, but look how cool that looks. Isn't that great? And that's black embossing powder with black ink. Oops, I missed the D. Look at that. It didn't stick there. That's okay. I'm not worried about it. Okay, so now we're kind of ready to assemble our panel. So the first thing I'm going to do is stick down my circle. And some of you might already be thinking, how's she going to stick that vellum down and have it not show her adhesive? Well, I'm not, the white panel for this was kind of done by design. Because when you put vellum down against white, it's very, very forgiving. So the darker the color that you're putting your vellum on, the more that that adhesive is going to show. And I am going to strategically place my glue where the letters are embossed, but it doesn't really matter. And this is where the glue press is really awesome, because you can get just little tiny dots of glue. And I'm not covering the whole thing. I kind of want it to float. Okay, because I'm going to be tucking things in there. So again, I'm going to grab my magnets right now. Just sort of plunk that on there, just so it pushes down on those areas and just sort of tacks that up a bit. And then I know I cut out card bases last night. Yep, here we go. I've got my card base. Okay, so it doesn't take long to tack that up. But see how the greeting is going to kind of float on there? But do you see any glue marks? No. Perfect. Do you find sometimes the glue doesn't work? Heather, I have no problems with the glue I use. Again, the situation is going to dictate how well it's going to work. I am putting vellum on white, so it's going to be very forgiving. The darker color, like if I was using like a navy blue or a black, I have a much higher percentage of that showing. But again, sometimes I will design my card around that and say, okay, you know, I want to make sure that I'm going to put the glue somewhere where a flower will cover it up or something like that. So vellum can be tricky for sure. But in this particular case, it's not going to be tricky. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to stick our flowers on. This card's going to come together really quickly now. Okay, so we're just going to tuck that there. And again, when I'm sticking my embellishments on, I'm keeping the glue right in the middle. You don't have to glue down your whole element, because if you want to layer things, then you want the option to be able to tuck things in. And you might not know you want to layer them until they're stuck down. And then you're like, wait a minute, I have some leaves. I want to tuck in there. But now I can't get them in there because I've glued this right down to the base of the card. And I am going to tuck some leaves in. So these are just leaves from my stash. I cut them out of vellum. You might not even have noticed them on the card, but see up here, they're just really subtle. And I like that they stick out past this panel, because remember, we're going to still put the panel on this. So you have a little room outside of that you can still overlap things. So I'm going to go ahead and tuck a couple of leaves in here. Now I might not be able to get them all the way in as far as I want. That's not a big deal, because you can just take a pair of scissors and trim off the bottom. So it just makes them a little bit shorter. You're not going to see that anyways. And then you're just able to tuck them in there. So again, I'm just going to add just a wee touch of glue. And if you're using good adhesive, it's going to hold no problem. Okay, but see how my leaf is going to stick out over the edge of this, but it won't stick outside of the edge of my card. Whoops, I'm off screen, sorry. So see how that does that? And I like that it sticks out a little bit. And then I'm going to put this one in over here. I'm just going to trim that bottom off. Add a little bit of glue. And then just tuck that in. I need to trim off a little more. But if I had glued those flowers all the way down, then I wouldn't be able to tuck anything in. So, and I'm not going to lie, these leaves were an afterthought when I was creating my card too. So definitely keep that in mind. My flowers are not going to fall off. And then this one's going to kind of come down here. Perfect. Again, glue in the center. Sorry, I keep moving down closer to me. So what do you guys think of this card? Pretty nice, eh? And this is the kind of card that you like to have in your stash because it's very generic. So, you know, sending you hugs, hope you're having a good day. And on the inside, it says happy birthday. So you can definitely customize this type of a card. And that's what I loved about those these large sayings, because you can really finish off a card quickly. Okay, and then the last thing we're going to do is insert our little sending hugs. And you don't have to put this in. I just thought it was really cute up there. You could put it down here if you wanted to. I don't know. It kind of brings the blue down here. I think I'm going to move it down there. And I'm going to use some foam adhesive for this one. And again, here's another little pro tip. I love the rolls of adhesive because I can cut whatever size pieces I want. So if you're working with foam squares or foam circles, yeah, you can cut them in half and stuff like that. But the rolls, oh my gosh, they give you so much flexibility. So although you're laying out a little bit more money at the beginning, they pay for themselves very quickly. I've been using this roll for quite a while. I think my last roll, I put the date on it when I started it, and it took me over a year to finish it. And I make a fair number of cards, so it was quite impressive. So I think I'm just going to tuck this right in here, which I think looks really nice. So either top or bottom. It just adds a little bit of color. And you can see them side by side. They look nice in both spots. And then for my panel, I'm going to pop my whole panel up using foam adhesive. And again, this is another place where I love the strips because I can cut pieces big enough to fill in the back of my panel without having to peel, 500 little foam dots or circles. And I hate a card that sags. so I make sure that I put, I don't think an excessive amount, but a nice, decent amount of foam adhesive on the back of pieces that I want to pop up. So I even put like a little piece diagonally through the center there. It doesn't have to be the full length, just a little something to support the middle of that card because you don't want it to sag in the center. And now you're only peeling off these large strips, not all the little foam, the backer pieces off those foam squares. And to get good coverage, you really need to make sure that you put quite a few on there. So, okay, there we go. And then the last thing we have to do is just add our little gems, which can be the hardest part. Now, I like to choose neutrals. I've shown this case before. This is my Tailored Expressions storage for tiny things. It is an amazing little system that they've come up with for anything tiny that you want to store. But I use it to store all of my gems and crystals. And so it's nice. I just bring it over to my desk and then I can, pull out a handful of them, decide where I want to put them, and life is good. Okay, so I kind of already know where I'm going to put my crystals because I've got a card done already. So that does make it easy. Okay. And then we're going to put one here and then a couple here. Okay, so here and here. Okay, we are done. What do you guys think? I just love, love, love. Okay, so Heather says what? Whose dimension tape roll? Okay, yes. So this is the Alta New one. And they have different widths and thicknesses. So they have a lot of options. Scotch is another one I really recommend. And then we also have the scrapbook adhesives as well. Now that's the least expensive one, but I will say that is my least favorite. It's kind of gummy. Does that make any sense? But it is a good one. Amanda uses that one a lot. It's a little more economical, but isn't that awesome? So I love the way this card turned out. I fell in love with the stencil and stamp background option as well. And I love the versatility that all of these products give you with lots of different options. So hopefully you learned something. I've inspired you and that you'll scoot on over to the store and maybe pick up a few things. Like you have to spend $100 to get the stencil and stamp for free. So maybe pick up this sentiment set as part of your $100. Maybe pick up the flowers from the blossom. What was that called? Butterfly blossom set. So you can make florals. Maybe you need some ink colors. Maybe you love Master Layouts 4. Like, look at some of the things that I showed you today that maybe you don't have in your stash, and that can go as part of your $100. So, Heather's always finding that she has to unclog her glue gun. Okay, so the thing with the glue press. Okay, what? Can you recap the name of the sentiment set? I sure can. It is called Encouraging Words, and it is a stamp die combo, and it is packed with options, like a lot. Okay, a little glue press tip. There is a silicone pad in the bottom of the glue press. So it is very important that your nozzle is sitting on that pad. Oops, I'm not showing you. It's sitting on that pad. Okay. And that is to block the air from going up. Now, it is not designed for it to sit here for weeks on end with no usage, and it won't clog. Mine, I won't say clogs. Mine sometimes needs a little probe. Okay, so I have a stainless steel pin that sometimes I just take and I just pop it into that little chamber. And it's longer than the pin that is inside the lid, which I threw on the floor. There's a little pin inside the lid. So I just give this a little probe and then test it on your a scrap piece of paper and give it a squeeze. So it is a great tool. I have no issues with clogging. Sometimes I leave my lid off for a long time if I forget, and then I have to really give it a good probe, but it always comes back to life. And also make sure you're putting this back in the holster while you're crafting. Don't lay it on your table. Keep that glue down in the tip, and also make sure it's in there. Heather, mine clogs while I'm using it. Are you using the Nuvo glue inside of this bottle? I have not deviated from that. I know they give you an extra bottle and you can put whatever glue you want in it, but I don't mess with things. If it's good, I'm just going to keep it. So I just worked with the Nuvo glue and it works great for everything. And like I said, I don't have any problems with it clogging at all. Like I can craft for hours and hours and it just keeps on flowing. So yeah. Anyways, ladies, I hope you have a wonderful World Card Making Day. And I'm glad you chose to spend a little bit of it with me. Oh, yeah, we're going to do a draw. I forgot. Okay, so I'm going to give away 2 cards to the winners and 2 $10 gift cards. So each of you is going to get one of these cards and a $10 gift card. So, how am I going to do 2 winners? Ugh. Okay, I might have to set up a second thing. That might take me just a second. That's okay. We can do it. So we're going to do the first draw. So the first draw, I can do things on the fly. It's all good. Okay, so the first one, don't do this yet, guys, because if you do it yet, it won't work. You're going to type in the comments, make a card. Not yet. Okay, not yet. Oh, people are asking questions. Okay, I'll answer questions in a minute. Okay, so when I say go, you're going to type make a card. No spaces, all one word, just like you see it on the screen. And this is going to tally up and pick a winner for us. Then I'm going to quickly set up a second one. I never thought about that. Okay, so I'm going to hit start. Okay, so now you can start by typing in the comments, make a card. Now answer questions. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you, blah, blah, blah. I only use Nuvo, never had a problem. The glue from Art Glitter works well too. Okay. Card. Okay. What am I? Now there's too many comments. I can't see. Okay. So Shelby answered the question. Okay, good. All right. We're going to add the make a cards. So there's 65 people watching. So there should be 65 people commenting saying make a card. And then you're going to get entered into a draw. So I'm going to have to make up a word for the next draw. Okay, it'll be easy. I've already got my word. Okay. I'm only going to give you another 15 seconds. Teresa, you typed it with spaces. That is not going to register. Shelby, you can't win. You need to do it. Oh, yes. And Tracy, thank you. Make sure you hit the like video or the like button on this video before you leave or after you leave. Anytime, please hit like. Thank you, Tracy. We always forget to tell people that. And subscribe to our channel because we do lots of fun things on here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hit the draw. So we're going to draw right now. Oops, I didn't share my screen. Shoot, add to stage. Here it is. It's doing the draw. It's going to pick a winner. Woohoo! Angie, you are our winner. So Angie's going to get one of my cards and a $10 gift card. But Angie, you have to email our store and let us know you were the winner, and we will look after that. It might not be today, but we will look after that. And I will add the card to your box. Now, I have to quickly set up. I'm going to go back to my screen here. I'm going to remove this. Actually, you know what? I'll remove it. I think I can actually do it on the same screen. Okay, I just have to set it up again. Never even thought about this. I just thought, oh, do it twice. Okay, so this just takes a second. Because I'm so speedy at this now. So like if we rewind like 6 months ago when maybe it was a little longer, when we got news that Facebook was going to drop all of the videos after 30 days, we were freaking out because we're like, oh my God, we have so much content on there. How are we going to do this? And I had to learn this whole new system and lighting, and oh my God, it was a nightmare. But look at me go now. I'm setting up things on the fly. Here we go. Okay. So now, oh, I got to change my banner. Hide. Edit. Okay, so this is for draw number 2. Save. Show. Oh, did you see how quick I did that? Okay, so now I'm going to start the counter. And for the second draw, you can type in the word second. How creative, right? No, I'm not showing products today. So I was going to do a live yesterday, but I was just so swamped I couldn't. My plan is Monday morning, I'm going to do an inspiration only live because I have so much good stuff to show you from the girls. But I just couldn't fit it in. I don't like to make my videos too long. We've already been here an hour and 20 minutes, so I don't want to do it longer. So the second draw, you're typing in the word second. So no new product today. We would be here all day if I, oh my gosh. I like to break them down into smaller videos and just do them more often. I think I've got your brains buzzing enough already. You can always go check out the what's new section on the online store because there's lots of goodies in there. Plus, I showed you a whole bunch of new things you can buy too. Okay. And you guys are doing great too. See, you did one draw. Now you're doing the next draw. Hopefully it doesn't pick Angie again. Because then I'm going to be in trouble. Okay, I'm going to hit the word draw. Let me share my screen. Add to stage. Here we go. We're going to hit draw. Please don't let me Angie. I mean, I don't want her to win twice because I don't know how to fix that. It's going to be somebody new. Woohoo! Lisa's our second winner. Yay. Okay, Lisa, same rules for you. You have to email the store. Let us know you were the winner. We will put the card in your box along with, and I'll email you back with your gift card information. So, okay. That is it for me. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And we will see you next week for sure. Okay, enjoy your weekend. See you later.